Welcome all, and in today's class we are starting with a new topic, that is body fluids and blood. We have studied about various systems such as skeletal system, muscular system and nervous system. And in today's class we will be studying about other systems which are essential in communication, that is between different cells or different organs that are present in the body. There should be a factor that communicates with all of them, and here that particular factor which is involved in communicating with different cells or different organs of the body is blood. Apart from this, we have a lymphatic system in which lymph is the fluid which takes the part of communication. Now let's see about blood. So previously we have seen that blood is a connective tissue and it is a type of fluid connective tissue, and blood constitutes approximately 7% of our body weight, and this makes up to 5.6 liters of a average healthy 70 kg adult, and it is called as a fluid connective tissue because unlike other connective tissues, this blood, it is fluidic in nature, and the blood, it circulates constantly around the body, communicating with all the tissues and transporting certain substances such as nutrients or hormones, gases, protective substances such as antibodies and essential substances such as clotting factors. So all these things are transported by the blood to all the tissues and all the cells. Generally, blood, it consists of two portions. One portion is called as plasma and the other, it is called as the cellular component of blood. The plasma, it is a clear straw colored watery fluid. It constitutes about 55% of the blood, whereas the other portion of the blood is cellular fraction, and this constitutes about 45% of the blood. Now let's see about plasma. We have seen that plasma is the fluid portion of the blood, and this constitutes about 55% of the blood, and 90% of the blood plasma is made up of water, and the remaining 8 to 10% consists of various substances such as plasma proteins, inorganic salts, nutrients, hormones, gases and waste materials are present in the plasma. Now let's see about them in detail. First is plasma proteins. So we have seen that blood remains within the blood vessels. Generally, a fluid which is present in any blood vessel, it moves into the tissues, but the blood remains within the tissues and it only supplies the fluid such as plasma or the nutrients that are dissolved in it or the gases that are suspended in it. The blood remains within the plasma because of the presence of plasma proteins, and these plasma proteins are essential to maintain the osmotic pressure of the blood. If our plasma proteins are not there in the blood vessel, or if the plasma proteins are not there in the blood, the fluid moves into the tissues and will not come back into the blood vessel. And this property of plasma proteins is very essential for making the blood to remain within the blood vessels. And of all the other substances that are present in the plasma, plasma proteins only constitutes about 7%. We have seen about 90 to 92% of plasma consists of water, and the remaining substances are salts, nutrients, hormones, gases, waste materials, plasma proteins. So, of the remaining substances, plasma proteins constitutes a larger amount of up to 7%. And the proteins generally are larger in size, and this large size of this plasma proteins will retain the plasma proteins within the blood vessels, so that they will not be moved away from the blood vessel into the tissues, and so they cannot cross the blood capillaries. And this presence of plasma proteins within the blood vessel creates an osmotic pressure, and this maintains the plasma fluid within the blood vessel, so that the blood circulation and the blood volume will be maintained. If the plasma protein levels fall, so the osmotic pressure will be reduced. Once the osmotic pressure of the blood is reduced, the fluid that is present in the blood, it moves into the tissues. Once it moves into the tissues and it gets accumulated in the tissues, it leads to edema, and it also will be secreted into the body cavities, where they will be eliminated from the body as secretions. Now let's see what are the various types of plasma proteins that are present in the blood. There are different types of plasma proteins. They are albumins, globulins, and certain clotting factors. These are the plasma proteins which are present in the blood. Generally, plasma proteins are synthesized by the liver, and they are secreted into the blood. Of this, albumin is the abundant plasma protein. The plasma protein that is abundantly present in the blood is albumin, and this constitutes about 60% of the plasma proteins, and these are very essential for maintaining the osmotic pressure. They act as carriers for certain fatty acids, drugs, and some hormones. The other type of plasma proteins are globulins, and these globulins, they are of different types. There are some globulins which act as antibodies, and these are called as immunoglobulins. The antibodies are nothing but those agents which are necessary for protection against microorganisms, because the microorganisms that enter into our body, they are considered as antigens, and the antibodies will react with this antigen to neutralize this antigen, and hence prevent from the unwanted effects of antigens. Some globulins, they act as transporters. They act as transporters for certain hormones, or they act as transporters for certain elements that are present in the body. For example, thyroglobulin is a transporter for thyroid hormones. In the same way, transferrin is a transporter for iron. In this way, the globulins can also act as transporters for certain substances. And some globulins, they are involved in inhibiting certain enzymes such as trypsin. Example, alpha-2 macroglobulin, and this alpha-2 macroglobulin is a proteolytic enzyme and inhibitor, and this inhibits the trypsin, which is an proteolytic enzyme. Proteolytic enzyme in the sense it causes lysis of proteins. So these are the two major proteins that are present in the blood. Apart from this, certain clotting factors which are proteins also are present in the plasma, of which fibrinogen is the major clotting factor. And these clotting factors are essential for formation of clot. Formation of clot in the sense it is a protective mechanism that prevents the loss of blood from the damaged blood vessels by forming a clot. And generally we have seen that the blood cells which are present in the blood, they will not form a clot and they are freely moving in the blood, and this is due to the presence of clotting factors in an inactivated state. And we have seen when the blood is withdrawn from the body and when it is kept aside, you can see lumps of clots that are formed in the test tube into which the blood is withdrawn, and these lumps of clot are formed due to the activated clotting factors, and that fluid which is separated from this clotted blood cells, it is called as serum. There are many clotting factors, but only few are proteins. So let us see briefly what are the various clotting factors and what are the proteins that are present or that act as clotting factors. So various clotting factors are, there are 12 clotting factors, but they are numbered from 1 to 13. The sixth clotting factor is not named here. So here the clotting factors are fibrinogen, prothrombin, thromboplastin, calcium, labile factor, Stewart factor, antithromboplastin antecedent, Christmas factor, Stewart factor, plasma thromboplastin antecedent, Hodgman factor, and fibrin stabilizing factor. These are the various factors which are essential for clotting, and they generally are in an inactivated state and will get activated in circumstances when they are exposed to any foreign substance or they are exposed to any damaged blood vessel, and the clotting mechanism is initiated. We have seen that plasma, it consists of various substances, and of that we have discussed about plasma proteins. Now let's see what are the other substances that are present in the plasma. The plasma also consists of various electrolytes or inorganic elements, and these electrolytes are also necessary for various functions of our cells. Example, calcium. Calcium, it is necessary for skeletal muscle contraction, whereas there are some factors such as sodium, and along with calcium it is necessary for nerve impulse generation or nerve impulse transmission. And there are certain substances such as phosphates and bicarbonates which are necessary to maintain the acid base balance, and the blood, it is having a pH of about 7.35 to 7.45, which is slightly alkaline in nature, and this alkalinity or pH of the blood, it is regulated by these substances, mostly the electrolytes. Whereas blood also consists of certain nutrients, the nutrients which are formed due to the process of digestion in the digestive tract, they are absorbed into the bloodstream and they remain within the bloodstream, and they are distributed to different tissues where they are necessary. Examples of such nutrients are the end products of digestion. Example, glucose, which is formed from carbohydrates, amino acids which are formed from proteins, fatty acids and glycerol which are formed from fats. In this way, these nutrients are supplied to all the cells for various activities of the cells, such as to provide energy, to provide heat, for repair or replacement of tissues. And plasma also consists of waste products. So all the cells, they are constantly working, and this process, it is called as metabolism, and during the process of metabolism it leads to formation of certain waste substances which are to be eliminated from the body, and the cellular waste is once again secreted back into the bloodstream, and this remains in the plasma, and from the plasma, as the blood is distributed to the kidneys, there this is filtered and it will be removed from the body. Substances such as urea, uric acid, creatinine, which are the end products of protein metabolism, are present in the plasma and they are eliminated from the plasma by the kidney. We also have seen that the gases are dissolved in the plasma, especially oxygen. It is bound with the red blood cells, with the hemoglobin of red blood cells, whereas carbon dioxide, it is present in the plasma as bicarbonate ions, whereas nitrogen, it is transported as such by the plasma, whereas the hormones that are produced by various glands in the body also are secreted into the blood and they are in the plasma. So when we allowed the withdrawn blood to stand for some time, and into which we add the anticoagulant which does not cause the blood to clot, then we can see the cells gradually deposit downwards and this straw colored fluid remains upwards, and this straw colored fluid is called as plasma, and this differs from serum, that serum does not contain the clotting factors, whereas the plasma consists of clotting factors, whereas all the other substances which we have discussed are present in both the serum and plasma. Now we have seen about the plasma fraction of the blood. Now let's see what is about the cellular fraction of the blood. The cellular fraction of the blood consists of different types of cells, and these cells can be broadly classified into three types. They are erythrocytes, thrombocytes and leukocytes. Erythrocytes are also called as red blood cells, thrombocytes are also called as platelets, and leukocytes are also called as white cells. So these are the three different types of blood cells that are present in the blood. Now let's see how different cells will originate, and this process of formation of red blood cells or white blood cells or thrombocytes together, it is called as hemopoiesis or synthesis of new blood cells, and this originates from a single cell that is present in the bone marrow, especially red bone marrow. So red bone marrow, it consists of a pluripotent stem cell. Stem cell is the beginning cell for any type of organs. Generally all the organs are produced from stem cells that are formed in the embryo. In the same way, red blood cells or white blood cells or platelets, all these things, they originate from a single stem cell which is called as pluripotent stem cell, and this pluripotent stem cell, it is present in the red bone marrow, and this will later differentiate into different types of preliminary blood cells, and this it is called as hemopoiesis. Generally the blood cell synthesis will occur at a larger pace, at a higher rate after the birth till adulthood, because there is a lot of red bone marrow in the bones, and this gradually will be replaced by yellow bone marrow by the time the child reaches adulthood. So in adults the blood cell production will be reduced, and this will be limited to only few types of bones in which the red bone marrow is remaining, such as flat bones, irregular bones, pelvis, ends of long bones. Examples of these types of bones: flat bones, irregular bones, and ends of long bones is sternum, ribs, bones of cranium, and pelvis. So the blood cell production will occur in adults only in these regions. In this diagram you can see that the pluripotent stem cell will give rise to different types of preliminary cells which are called as blast cells. So the pluripotent stem cell, it gives rise to proerythroblast, megakaryoblast, myeloblast, monoblast, and lymphoblast. So these are the different types of blast cells or preliminary cells which originate from the red bone marrow's pluripotent stem cell. And these cells once again later differentiate into different types of cells until they lead to formation of the final blood cell. For example, proerythroblast is converted into erythroblast, and this erythroblast is converted into reticulocyte, and reticulocyte is converted into erythrocyte, that is red blood cell. Whereas megakaryoblast is converted into megakaryocyte, and this is converted into thrombocytes or nothing but platelets. Whereas other cells are leukocytes. All the other remaining cells together they are called as leukocytes, and they are once again of three different types. They are myeloblast, monoblast, and lymphoblast. Myeloblast will give rise to different myelocytes, such as myeloblast will give rise to neutrophil myelocyte, basophil myelocyte, and eosinophil myelocyte. And this neutrophil myelocyte will finally form into neutrophils,